y'all feeling? Yes, I love it. Okay, we gotta address this. Bring it up, please. Let me bring this up. What? Come on. Okay, what? Let me see this.
It's like your size too.
It is like my size. Where did you get this?
Okay, we printed it out.
Okay, where did you get this? This is from my wedding.
Yeah,
I'm in all white like Jesus.
Screenshot it on Instagram.
You screenshot it on Instagram. My wife's hand, this is true. What church you from?
Community Church in Harrisonville, Tennessee.
Community Church in Harrisonville, Tennessee. Give it up for them. Okay, well, I just had to address this. This is a little weird. Look at the camera right here. Look at it. Weird? Okay, so go ahead, take this. It's a little creepy. Don't leave it in your room, okay? Leave them face down. Yeah, that's right. All right, man, listen, y'all, I'm excited for session number 3. I know. All right, no booze, okay? This is my last session. I'm gonna be leaving tomorrow. No booze! I know, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I gotta get back home to my family. But y'all have what I consider one of the GOATs when it comes to communicating, and especially communicating to students in the form of Stuart Hall, who's gonna be showing up tomorrow. Yes. Man, one of the reasons why, I would say the major reason why I communicate and travel as much as I do and speak to students, the reason why I love students, middle school and high school students, hanging out with them. Literally, I have been a youth pastor for the last 10 years, have devoted my life to students, and the reason why, y'all, thank you. But the reason why I did that was because I was around your age when I gave my life to Jesus. I was 16 years old when I had started following Jesus for the first time. I gotta be honest with you, I sort of grew up in a house that was a good, morally good house, and my parents, I believe they were Christians, they knew God, but we didn't really go to church, but I was not a follower of Jesus until one night when everything changed. I didn't give my life to Jesus at a camp or FCA or a church. Actually, I was nowhere near a church when I gave my life to Jesus. I was 16 years old and I was hanging out with my cousins and my best friend. We're hanging out outside of a movie theater. We're hanging outside of this movie theater, y'all, and we're just hanging. You know, it's just a bunch of dudes. We get there, and we walk up to the kiosk, and the guy behind the counter said, hey, the movie theater, we just finished the movie. We have to clean it. You guys have to wait outside. So we're outside. We're hanging out on the curb, telling your mama jokes, just being dudes, right? Hanging out. This lady, she's walking by, and she's passing out something to everybody she's encountering. And I'll never forget, 16 years old, I'm sitting there and I see her approaching us, and I didn't know what was going on, and she's approaching us and she's passing out stuff, and she gets to us, she says, hey, do y'all want $1 million? We're 16-year-old, we're like, hey, like, whatever you're selling, we're too young, we can't do Herbalife yet, like whatever that thing is, right? You know when you feel like somebody's selling you, like, 16 years old, she's like, hey, I just want to give you this fake $1 million bill. And she starts talking about God and Jesus and the Bible. I actually have a replica of it. I keep this in my wallet just to remind me of that day. This is a fake $1 million bill, and she starts talking about God and Jesus, and we're like, yo, you are ruining our vibe. We want nothing to do with this conversation. If I'm being honest, at 16 years old, the more she began to speak, although I wanted her to leave my presence, there was something about what she was saying that was compelling to me. And as we started to just kind of like, hey, we're good, we don't want anything, she said, hey, I'll get out of your way, but I just want you guys to wrestle with and ask yourself the $1 million question on the back. So we turn it over, the $1 million question on the back of the $1 million bill. How does Tom Brady continue to do it? No. Okay, $1 million question. If you were to die today, where do you think you'd spend eternity? And at 16 years old, I had never really wrestled with that question. I had never really thought about life beyond earth. This was the first time where I felt like this this weight, like felt like a ton of bricks just laid upon me as I wrestled with this question and had to deal with the fact, man, Marquise, where would you go after this life was over? That night, I called my grandmother, who was and still is a pastor, and she led me to Christ over the phone at 16 years old. That changed the trajectory of my life. And like a lot of people, and I'm not gonna say anybody in this room, I didn't really know what to do, and so that was on a Friday night, and it's interesting, I don't really tell this part of the story, but I'm gonna tell it tonight. We made a pact. We were like, guys, we gotta like change our life around, and we were just like dealing with a lot, and we were like, you know what? Let's start tomorrow. What? We're like, yeah, tomorrow we give our lives to Jesus, for real. But as I started to follow Jesus, I became just like this legalistic jerk for Jesus. That was a Friday night. Monday came, I had to go back to school, and I didn't know what it meant to like be a Christian, so I just like brought my Bible with me, and I started like walking through the halls and judging other people. I became a super like religious freak. I would like go down to the track during lunch and just like read my Bible, and I wanted people to see me as this Christian guy. But I remember just feeling super legalistic. I'd walk by a couple and they'd be kissing in the corner. I'd be like, those sinners. God, save them. I'm praying for them. Everything that came out of my mouth was about Jesus. Hey, Marquise, we're about to go grab some lunch. What do you want? I'm gonna eat manna from heaven. You heathens. Prom's coming up. Where you going to prom? Jesus is my prom date, okay? Get your life right. But I literally became this jerk for Jesus. I was doing it completely wrong, but here's why I tell you that. Because I remember as I look back on that time, I wanted everyone, when they saw Marquise, to say, Marquise is a good Christian guy. And so I had all of the trimmings. I had my Bible, and I spoke right, and I talked, and I spoke right, and I tried to dress right, and I had all of the things that appeared like Marquise is following Jesus. I tried to do all of the Christian stuff that I saw, and I tried to mimic that. But what people didn't know was that as I look back over that time period of my life, although I had all of these trimmings of following Jesus, what I was also really good at was hiding. I was notorious for being a hider. No one really knew how good I was at hiding the stuff that I was really dealing with, because I would just mask it with Christian words and telling everybody that I'm going to a revival this weekend and trying to let people know that I follow Jesus, but deep down, I was hiding something. And no one knew that Marquise had this thing that was weighing on him and was hiding. And I'll tell you this, I got really, really good at church. Watch this. But I also got really, really good at hiding. And there's some students and leaders possibly in this room tonight, and you are really, really good at church, but you're also really, really good at hiding. That was my story. I loved hiding. I loved people not knowing what I was actually going through. And so although I could play church really, really well, I could also play being okay. Anytime anybody would ask me anything, I'm good. Hey, how's your life? I'm good, I'm fine. It was like I went to I'm Fine Community Church. Anybody else? Every time you talk to somebody, hey, how's your life? I'm fine, things are good. How's your marriage? Things are good, things are fine. How's your day going? Things are good, things are fine. Stop asking me questions before I start crying, right? I'm Fine Community Church. We all have been there, but I was really, really good at hiding. But y'all, here's the thing. There's three major problems with hiding. There's three major things that take place when any of us hide. And I think you would agree. The first is this: just because things are hidden doesn't mean they're not there. Just because you're hiding something doesn't mean it's not there. We can all play the game of hiding, but even though it's hidden, the effects still play with us. Even though it's hidden and no one could see it, it doesn't mean that it's actually gone away. It's still living and breathing in our life, because we all know what it's like to try to hide something and make it seem like nothing's in the room but actually there's a whole lot of mess in the room. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, my room was the junkiest of all rooms. And whenever my mom or dad would try to come into my room, I was really good at just throwing things in the corners, throwing them up under the bed. It looked clean, but it was all over the place. I'd grab all of the laundry, and I'd do that thing. Anybody else fold their clothes by crumpling them up and putting them in the drawer? It's just the folding is so time consuming. Thank you. But just because it's not there doesn't mean, just because it's hidden doesn't mean that it's not there. The second thing is this, and I think you would agree, just because things are hidden doesn't mean they aren't heavy. Just because it's hidden does not mean that secret, that lie no one knows about, that thing that you've just been wrestling with, let me ask you, isn't it getting heavier? Isn't it weighing on you? And we're really good at, coming up to people and we can put on a smile and we can sit in group and not really share and everyone could think things are okay, but deep down, that thing that no one sees is getting heavier. And it doesn't have to be anything major, but anything we hide gets heavier over time. It can be something that you feel like is small. It could be something that you feel like is manageable. Take, for instance, this water bottle. This water bottle is not heavy, 16 fluid ounces of water. And I could hold this right now, and y'all, it's easy to hold. And for you, you're like, listen, Marquise, this is manageable. This is my thing, and no one knows about it. I can handle it. But I gotta be honest with you, the longer you hold this, the heavier it'll get. I mean, yeah, right now, this 16 fluid ounce water bottle is nothing for me to hold, but if you tell me to hold this out for 5 years, it'll get heavier. And yeah, that thing that no one knows about in your life is light right now, but it's gonna get heavier over time. And those of you in the room that have walked through something and you've tried to hide something and you felt like no one's gonna find out about this little thing, this is my thing, no one's gonna find out about it, I'm just gonna keep this problem or this issue to myself because I can manage it. I'm telling you, if you hold it long enough, it'll get heavier. And some of you in this room, you've been holding that thing for some time now. And I'll be honest with you, although this is simply one water bottle, my arm is starting to get tired. And the same is true for your soul. Our souls bear the weight of the things that we hide. And students all over this room, as someone who was a teenager hiding things really, really well from everyone, things got heavier. The third problem with things that are hidden is this: just because it's hidden doesn't mean you've dealt with it. Just because you've hidden it really well, your best friend doesn't know, your youth leader doesn't know, doesn't mean you actually dealt with it. That addiction you may be dealing with, it doesn't mean you've dealt with it. You just got really good at clearing your search history. That thing that you've been trying to carry around, that lie that no one knows about, you haven't dealt with it. You just suppressed it. And y'all, I say this in love as just someone who's been there and continues to make sure that I don't go back there. I'm telling you, and you know this to be true, there's something that happens within all of us when we hide something, it weighs on us heavy. And we're not actually dealing with it by putting it away. We're not actually dealing with it by trying to hide it. As a matter of fact, there's a vicious cycle that we all go through and deal with. I want to throw this up on the screens. This is a cycle that we deal with, and it starts off with being seduced. I want you to see this cycle. It starts off being seduced. Whatever that thing is, you're seduced. We're all seduced into something. It doesn't have to be anything major, but we're seduced into something. And here's the next phase of the cycle. Once we are seduced, and I don't want to show anything yet, but at the end of this, I'm going to show you what it looks like when everything fully weighs on our life. I'm gonna show you this first, and then I wanna give you an example by using the light in this room. But first, I wanna show you this. It's seduced, and then the second stage is this. When we give in to that seduction, when we give in to that temptation, it's sin. And this is where we actually have fallen and made the mistake. And to sin, in its actual definition, means to miss the mark. And so when we miss the mark of perfection, which we all do, what happens next is a huge determining factor of the quality of the life that we're going to live. The third stage that we tend to fall into is this: secret. And we keep it a secret. And as we keep this a secret, we bring it and drag it into darkness. And then the last stage is this: shame. And there's no doubt there's some students in this room tonight that you've been carrying around some shame. Let me tell you what shame is. Shame is not, I've made a mistake. Shame is, I am a mistake. It's not, I've messed up. It's, I am messed up. And it becomes our identity. And y'all, this is the cycle that all of us are tempted to get dragged into, because when we put something in darkness, we're keeping it a secret. We drag it into darkness and we think that it's hidden and that we've dealt with it. So here's what we do. We drag the things that we're dealing with into darkness. I want to show you what that looks like. I want to show you by example. Let's go ahead and turn off the lights in the room. I want you to see, as we go into a complete blackout with no lights. And I want us to just sit in this moment. We're not going to move around or make noise. But y'all, hear me when I say this. I want to take this moment to be serious. This is where that secret has gone. This is where that thing that no one else knows about, you've dragged it here. It lives here. And this is comfortable. This feels manageable. The thing that potentially you've been wrestling with, it's here. Unconfessed, no one knows. I gotta be honest with you, myself included. I've drug a lot of things here. I've brought a lot of secrets right here. And it feels like as long as it's here, I'm okay. Because no one knows. My dad doesn't know. My mom, she'll never find out. I could take this to the grave with me. I could keep it here and no one will have to find anything. But can I be honest with you? This isn't the place where we should drag our secrets. This isn't the place where we should take the things that we don't know how to deal with. This isn't the place where we should drag the anxiety or depression that we're battling. We don't drag it here. I know here is comfortable. I know you've been here long enough. I know your secret has been living here for years and months and weeks. I know it feels like things are good here, but it was never intended to be here. Because watch this, the things that are here are killing you. So tonight, my main goal, and I'll get out of your way, is to show you how to bring things from here. Let's bring up the lights. To here. And here's why this matters, y'all. Because the things that go to the darkness, I just want to tell you, I just want to say it how I feel it. The lie that you've brought to the darkness, the thing that no one knows about that you've dragged into the darkness, is going to the darkness and it's lifting weights. That lie is getting stronger. You see, darkness is a gymnasium for secrets. Darkness is a gym for secrets. It's where secrets can go and get stronger and bigger, and before you know it, it's destroying your life. So tonight, briefly, I just want to show you what it looks like to live in the light. We've been talking about some I am statements, and this morning we talked about how Jesus said that I am the bread of life, meaning that he's the source of our satisfaction. Tonight, as I go to the second I am statement, I want to give you a little bit of context. In this moment, Jesus is talking to a crowd that just witnessed a woman being dragged into the streets for committing adultery. They leave the man out of the story, but he also committed adultery. And when he is in this moment, Jesus says something. It's his second I am statement. What he calls himself, when he says, hey, if you want to know who I am, here's how you know who I am. It's found in John 8, verse 12. Jesus says this, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. He says, I am the light of the world, and whoever follows me will never have to walk in darkness. I want you to hear the power, and I want that weight of the word never to rest on you. This morning, he said, I am the bread of life, and whoever is with me will never go hungry, will never go thirsty. He's given us an absolute, hey, following me, you'll never go hungry, you'll never be thirsty for satisfaction. And tonight, he says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never have to walk in darkness. Y'all, what Jesus is offering all of us is to never have to drag the stuff that we're dealing with, the stuff that's gotten so heavy, to the darkness. No, Jesus is saying tonight, we get to live in the light. We get to walk in the light. So what does this mean? I just want to show you two places where this idea of walking in the light is fully expressed. Before I get out of your way, the first place is written by this guy by the name of David. And David had a lot of junk in his life that he did not share with anybody. He drugged the junk in his life to the darkness. And I want you to see just how heavy his unconfessed things weighed on him. It's found in Psalm 32, verse 5. It says this. This is David speaking. He said, when I refused to confess my sin, my body wasted away, and I groaned all day long. Day and night, your hand of discipline was heavy on me. My strength evaporated like water in the summer heat. I want to leave this up on the screens for you. He says, when I refused to confess my sin, when I refused that, he says some physiological things, some things in my body started to be affected. My body wasted away. It groaned all day long. I want you to look at the effects of things that are hidden. David said, I wasn't going to tell anybody what I did and what I struggled with. And as a result of his refusal to bring that stuff into the light, his body wasted away. We can take that off the screens now. Let me ask you, as a result of you not sharing or bringing that stuff into the light, how affected has your body been by that? There's no remedy, there's no one solve thing, like one size fits all for the things that we deal with. But I want to say some of the stuff that we're dealing with physiologically in our body, in our mind, is because we have not drugged those things into the light, and we keep carrying around something that we were never designed to carry on our own. And David said, when I refused, and man, I gotta be honest with you, I've been there. I totally understand what David is saying, because there's been some things in my life where I said, I'm never going to tell anybody. No, this is too much. I gotta hold on to this, and I refused. And as a result, it weighed on me. It was heavy. But then David finishes off his statement by saying this. Look what happens next. He says, finally. It's almost like a sigh of relief when he says that. Finally, I confess all my sin to you and stop trying to hide my guilt. I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord, and you forgave me, and my guilt is gone. Look what David was met with when he confessed and brought that stuff to the light. He didn't say, I finally confessed, and then you told me how disappointed you were in me. I finally confessed, and then you told me to try harder. I finally confessed, and you told me to do better next time. No, he says, I confessed, and I was met with forgiveness. What do you think you're going to be met with by God when you share what you're actually dealing with? If it's anything other than forgiveness and love and truth by God, then you are mistaken. God is saying tonight, what I want to meet you with is love, forgiveness, grace, and truth. And David said, man, when I finally did that, I confessed all of the stuff that I was dealing with. And you forgave me. And all of the stuff that I was wrestling with, it didn't evaporate, it didn't just go away, but I finally was able to give that over to someone that could help me carry that. So David said, the way that we walk in light, the way we get away from the darkness is confession. Can I be honest with you? I wish there was another way. I wish it was, hey, you want to drag that stuff out of darkness? Eat chicken wings. I love that. Y'all, I wish there was another way because I know how difficult it could be to share. But the beautiful thing about confession to God is what you are going to be met with. What you're going to be met with is not shame or guilt. What you're going to be met with is a good, loving Father. I know that image of father could be tainted here while we're here on earth. Your earthly father may not be a great representation, or what you've seen in culture and the world may not be a great representation of a dad, but I want to let you know this. God is the dad you wish you had. He's not the type of dad that's shaming or guilting any parts of you. He's welcoming you with open arms. And so David says, the way that I drug that into the light was I confessed my faults to God. But it doesn't stop there. There's one more verse that I want to show you. That's, in my opinion, that's 1.0 of walking in the light. It's confessing that to God. When I read that and I was struggling with things, I thought to myself, this is great. I'm going to share with God. It's going to be good. I'm confessing this. God, thank you. I got up from this amazing moment where I'm just confessing to God and praying to God and thinking to myself, God, thank you for carrying this with me. And as I read more on confession, this 2.0 also hit me in the face. This is in the book of James. And James picks up this idea of walking in the light through confession. And he says this, James 5, verse 16. James says, confess your sins to each other. Pray for each other so that you may be healed. The earnest prayer of a righteous person has great power and produces wonderful results. Wait a second. Confess your sins to, not God. Does it say have this moment where you say everything to God and then you leave it alone? No, he says confess your faults to each other. Wait a second, God, I shared it with you. That's good. I'm gonna walk with you. But I've also sent you some kingdom family here on earth. Some like-minded people who want the best for you, who are gonna point you to me, who can physically wrap their arms around you and show you the love of Christ through being there for you. I want you to share with them as well. And y'all, I gotta be honest, that was the part that scared me the most. I was good with sharing with God, but then we read that dragging that stuff into the light also means we share with one another. That stuff that we've been carrying around this week, Tonight, potentially, my prayer that I've been praying for this week is for boldness and courage for us to take that stuff and drag it into the light so that we can put a bullet in its head. That sounds, hold on, sorry. That was morbid. That was a lot. That was a lot. But we got to drag it into the light. Here's how I know we got to drag it into light, because here's what we'll never do. We'll never invite a vicious lion into our home and treat it as a pet. If you walked into your home and saw a lion roaming around, you'd freak out and want to do something about it. The same is true for the things that we've been trying to hide in our life. The bottom line to this message is simply this: you can't heal what you don't reveal. You cannot heal what you don't reveal. And it's tough and it's hard, but dragging that stuff into the light is one of the greatest things that you could do. It's one of the greatest things that you could do for your soul, and your soul has been weighed down because you've been hiding it. And y'all, I want to share with you that God, his job is to help assist you. You don't have to carry this alone. His job is to walk with you. He doesn't want you carrying this by yourself. It's his job to help carry with you. I remember growing up in middle school, my family, my mom and dad started doing really well for themselves, and we had gotten this housekeeper to come help us out at home, and this housekeeper I thought was going to be amazing. It turned out to be one of the worst things ever. I'm in middle school, and when I think of a housekeeper, someone cleaning up the home, I'm thinking of Esteban from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I'm thinking of Jeffrey from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, that's my mind, right? But every other Saturday, we had Isabella and her team come to clean the house. They would show up at 10 a.m. And every other Saturday at 7 a.m., my mom was waking us up to clean the entire house. All the time. Every other Saturday. I'm like, Mom, what are we doing? We're cleaning baseboards. We're vacuuming. We're doing a deep clean. All Isabella had to do was walk in, dust a little bit, get paid, and leave. I hate it. I'm like, Mom, why are we cleaning up before they get here? And she would always have this famous line, because I don't want those people coming up in here thinking we nasty. They not gonna come up in here thinking we nasty. I'm in middle school, I'm like, Mom, we are nasty. We got stuff everywhere. She would clean before Isabella got there, and I will never forget one conversation that Isabella had with my mom in the kitchen as she was getting paid. She looked at my mom in the eye and she said, hey, Miss Cox, I noticed that you've been cleaning up the house before I got here. When are you gonna let me do my job? I know, mic drop moment. I say that because I want to echo what Isabella said and say this is what God is saying to all of us. Hey, stop carrying that by yourself. When are you gonna let me do my job? When are you gonna let me, the God, the King of the universe, carry that burden with you? His job is to help walk alongside us, to carry that with us, and we keep trying to rob God from this moment where he gets to wrap his arm around us and show us just how powerful and loving he is. We're taking that from him and we're trying to do his job for him. No, I'm gonna hide this, I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna deal with this on my own, and God is saying, let me do my job. So here's what we're gonna do. Here's what it means to walk into the light. I want to throw this up on the screens. To walk in the light is to live day by day in community with others and God with no secrets. To live day by day in community with others, catch that, with others here on earth and God with no secrets. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Those who follow me, you don't have to walk in darkness anymore. You no longer have to walk and live in darkness when you've got the light of the world in your life. And y'all, day by day, we have the opportunity to either turn the light off on the secrets or to shine light on the things that we've been carrying. Wouldn't it be great, watch this, to live without being held hostage by secrets? I'm not saying it's not scary, but wouldn't it be great if you walked in total freedom? You walk differently when you ain't got no secrets in your life. You pray differently when you ain't got no secrets in your life. You live different when you don't have secrets in your life. And I'm not telling you to share everything with everybody. I'm not telling you to say, okay, you know what, I'm going on Instagram, I've done this, and this. No. I'm talking about godly, mature people that you can trust. Marquise, how do I know I can trust them? You don't know if someone's trustworthy until you trust them. You'll never know if someone is actually trustworthy until you trust them. And I want you to pray about that. Who could that be in your life? Who could I turn to share some things that I've been wrestling with? And potentially tonight, but certainly in the near future, I want you to share what you've been wrestling with. You don't have to go the full, 100% yet, but the goal is to go 100% of the way and share everything. I had a small group prior to living in San Antonio. It was a men's group, and we called our men's group the 10 Percenters. That was the name of our small group, the 10 Percenters. Here's why. Because we said at the start of that men's group, hey fellas, to be 90% known is to be unknown. Don't tell 90% of your story. Who's that last 10%? The last 10% of the way, who can you go there with? And y'all, that men's group was the most life-giving part of my life when I found a group of men that said, Marquise, you get to go the last 10% of the way and share your full story with us, and you'll be met with grace and love and truth. And tonight, that's the offer on the table. To live any other way is to be held in bondage by darkness. And students all over this room, leaders all over this room, it is possible to live the secret-free life. All we have to do is turn to the light of the world, who is Jesus. Let me pray for us. God, thank you for tonight. God, as I stand up here, I'm reminding myself of moments when I was scared and crying and didn't want to share with anybody what I was actually dealing with. And I remember those moments, God, when I would just share what I was actually dealing with, what I was actually carrying, the stuff that I've brought from my childhood, and I shared in those moments, scared and trembling, and I was met by you and other men. I was met by you and a counselor in therapy. I was met with grace and love and forgiveness. And Lord, there's some students, potentially some leaders in this room that have been walking in darkness far too long. Tonight, the offer on the table is to live in the light. Living in that light may mean sharing with a small group, sharing with a youth group leader, sharing in therapy through counseling. But there's a way for us to all live and walk in the light. And I'm praying, God, for boldness and courage for us to all do that this week. We pray all these things in your matchless holy name. And all of BigStuf said, amen. Love y'all. Thank y'all so much for having me.